Welcome to Odyssey. Odyssey is a show where we discuss the frontier of crypto's opportunities and challenges in driving real-world impact in the societies of tomorrow. Odyssey is produced thanks to the support of Safe and Ambire Wallet. Safe is the most trusted decentralized custody protocol and collective asset management platform on Ethereum and the EVM. Ambire Wallet is an advanced smart wallet that utilizes account abstraction, acting as a gateway to Web3 applications and providing users with secure and effortless management of their digital assets. You'll hear more about them later on in the show. Let's get to it, friends. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Odyssey. On this podcast, we have the founder and CEO of Ambire Wallet, Ivo. So throughout this conversation, Ivo and I talk about his journey getting into crypto, really following the idea maze with regards to different challenges and solutions he's seen, not just purely in the crypto space, but also across payments, ad networks, so on and so forth. We discuss some of the challenges in a lot of the wallets that are being developed today and some of the solutions that Ambire sees and is developing and implementing. So whether that is email recovery, batching transactions, parsing and visualizing the data in much easier, more accessible ways, they're really taking a very holistic to how we can better think about and develop wallet infrastructure. Ivo shares some founder advice, being a product-led founder that really focuses on holistic development of solutions for their product. I thought that was a really fascinating conversation. We explore the wallet wars as well with this really exciting and rapidly developing space. We discuss how a wallet and generally crypto teams can navigate this whole idea maze with regards to developers, driving more adoption, targeting crypto natives. I thought this was super great to get his insights with regards to how founders can think about how they can launch to market, think about product market fit, and so on. Another really great part of this conversation, and this is largely where we end things, is we discuss other use cases that he sees in the crypto ecosystem. We touch on decentralized finance, which we both are super bullish on, and some real world use cases and utility for the same. It was great to dive into all these different subjects with Ivo, and I think you'll really enjoy this conversation. Ivo, it's awesome to have you on the podcast.
Awesome to be here. Hey, everyone.
Really looking forward to diving into wallets. As you know, and as a lot of the listeners will be aware, my thesis is that wallets are really at the heart of mass adoption. So was really keen to get this conversation set up and explore your thoughts and thesis with regards to where wallets are heading, some of the technological innovations that are coming to the space as well. So let's dive into that. Ivo, I love kind of getting people's stories and their whole trajectory into crypto. I think it's a really important sort of facet of our journeys as well. So give us the rundown, like who's Ivo, how did you end up in the space and what's your whole trajectory been like?
So I'm Ivo. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Ambire Wallet. And really, I started coding at a really young age, entirely self-taught. I started coding when I was 10 years old, and back then I did games. Then I moved to systems programming. I did some security stuff over the years. I made my own Linux distribution, so I'm really big into open source as well. And then in 2013 or 2012, I was still in high school and I discovered Bitcoin because I wanted to use a file sharing service, a file synchronization service, kind of like Dropbox, which only had two payments, fiat and Bitcoin. And I was like, what is this Bitcoin? Because obviously, as someone in high school, you don't have your own money to spend. So I looked into Bitcoin and I started mining it on my CPU. So I spent almost all of it on the file storage, but it was kind of my first thing in crypto. And in 2013, I started my first company with my co-founder. A media center, a video player, more specifically, that currently today has surpassed 25 million users. And I'm still an advisor there. We transferred it to a different management, but it's doing fantastically. And it's basically because of the product foundations that we set up there. And then because of this media center, in 2017, we were figuring out how to monetize it. And we figured out that all advertising networks are really fraudulent or suffer from someone else's fraud. So we figured out at this point we were discovering Ethereum. So we figured out a really neat way to solve this problem through Ethereum by making a decentralized, fully transparent ad network called ADEX, and we launched it on Ethereum, and it was the first payment channel solution pretty much live on mainnet, and it grew to to process over 1 billion advertising impressions. So in ADEX, we found that publishers and advertisers who were kind of like marketing people, not technical people, they had huge difficulties signing up onto Metamask and generally using Ethereum. So they were super confused by seed phrases. They were super confused by the fact that you have to have your wallet funded with ETH. So like those people, they would fund their wallet with like stable coins to pay for the ads, and then discover that they cannot send a transaction because they don't have any ETH. So that's extremely confusing to someone who is used to paying the fee in the currency that you're transacting with, like with traditional banks or traditional apps. So we built a wallet inside of the ADEX platform, which solved this through account abstraction. Back then, we just called it a smart contract wallet. And we implemented stuff like account recovery, paying gas with stable coins, signing up with an email and password without compromising the non-custodial nature, and then this product spun into Ambire. This was back in 2018 when we first did it in ADEX. And in 2021, we spun it off into a different product, and we figured out that all of those UX improvements on top of Ethereum and on top of the entire EVM ecosystem were better suited to be an independent product that you can use with any DeFi app or in general with any dApp. So basically that's my whole journey, and you can see how one thing leads to another, and it flows into this like user-driven approach where we see a difficulty and we see that the difficulty is a good opportunity. So then we build a product for it. So yeah, that's pretty much my story and how Ambire was born.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, definitely just like doing a really great job of navigating that idea maze, right? Where you start with a media center, and then you realize there's inefficiencies in the market in the
Yeah,
advertising space, and then you want to integrate crypto native payments into that, and then you realize that the wallet onboarding process is like
yeah,
super cumbersome. So
yeah.
it's the next thing that you want to tackle,
Exactly.
right?
Not
And I think
yeah.
that,
I was gonna say
yeah.
nothing in this like life journey is like, okay, what's a good idea for me to do? Like everything comes super organically from seeing a growing pain.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of entrepreneurs these days, especially in the crypto ecosystem, it's like they'll just look around and be like, all right, like what problem do I want to solve? And unless you have like that on the ground experience, it's hard for you to fully like have a grasp of the problems out there, right? And so I love that sort of that's Ambire's story and where things emerge. So give us what is Ambire kind of, you've mentioned a few of the features that you have implemented in there, but give us the sort of full on overview. And at this point, the audience is familiar with some of the information we've been passing along the podcast as well, but would love to hear it directly from your words.
The way we summarize it is that Ambire is a Web3 wallet that makes crypto self custody easy and secure for everyone. So, what we mean by that is we really focus on UX and security, and we believe that those two concepts are really interconnected between each other. Because many of the security issues in crypto in general, they don't really come from like technical problems, but they come from bad UX, poor UX. So like you will see like a lot of FUD going around for regarding Trezor, how you can extract the private key, how you can extract the seed. But how many people were hacked because someone extracted the seed from their Trezor? I would bet that it's close to zero. But how many people were hacked because of phishing? So my point here is that most of the security issues and most of the times people lose their money is because of UX. So this is what we are addressing. We are making we are working towards a wallet which is as easy to use as possible without sacrificing functionality.
Awesome. So give us I always love situating like the problem and the solution and really being very clear about that, especially for the folks that are out there wallets are super hot. So give us the each of the different problems that you've seen as you were building
Yeah,
ADX, and generally as you continue to mature Ambire, and like insert the solutions that you've plugged in, because
yeah,
I having used Ambire as well, like I was super impressed by it literally feels like you're logging into a Web2 platform to some
yeah,
extent, right?
absolutely.
And gives you all the different like capacities, and so the user experience is like super functional, very fluid. So give us all the problems you've seen in the wallet space, and how you've responded to each of those.
Yeah, so that's a great way to put the question. So I would immediately start with the sign up. A big problem in the sign up is that you need to write down a seed phrase. This is a problem not only for people who are new and unfamiliar with the concept. This is a problem for experienced people as well, because from the point of view of an experienced person, you're like, let me try this MetaMask alternative because I don't really like MetaMask. So then the MetaMask alternative makes you go through a cumbersome process, which doesn't always equate a long process, right? I'm not sure if this makes sense. You can have a multi-step onboarding, but you can have a single-step onboarding, which is really complicated. And writing down the seed phrase is an example of this. Because if the wallet requires you to verify it afterwards, then you cannot just like you don't have the time. Most people nowadays do not have the time to, if you're new, to learn new concepts, and if you're experienced, to just deal with bullshit and write stuff down just to get a taste of the wallet. So you should be able to get a taste of the wallet very quickly. And very easily. And if you're new to the space, then the seed phrase doesn't make any sense to you whatsoever. So it's kind of like a password, but you have to write it down, which goes absolutely in the opposite way of everything else you're taught. You hear the advice: don't write your password on a piece of paper, and that's exactly what happens. And it's worse than that, because it's not a password; it's your money. So it's not a access key to your money, but it is your money. It's literally the thing that the private key is derived from. So it's not even good in terms of like any real world analogy, right? So if you give to a person the analogy that this is the key, that's a wrong analogy, because if you lose a key in the real world, you can get a locksmith, and you can get or you can have a copy of the key, or you can have like a master key. You can have many security schemes. But with this, it's like the best analogy would be someone is like stealing your safe, where all of the money is. And so yeah, my point here is that it's a really hard concept for people to grasp, and even if you've already grasped it, if you have to go through it again just to get a taste of the wallet, then you churn out the users. So that's the first thing that we're solving, and the only way that you can solve this is through smart accounts or account abstraction, because you need that programmability. A quick sidebar on what account abstraction is. A lot of controversy around this term, and it changed its meaning a lot. But I would say that the simplest way to explain it is you have programmable accounts, and you make programmable accounts exist and get adopted. So account abstraction is I would say every technology that makes smart accounts or programmable accounts get adopted. So you need programmable accounts because you untie this relation between having the account secured by one private key versus programming the account to be able to be secured by multiple private keys, by time locks, to have recovery logic. So all of these things are not possible with traditional accounts, because traditional accounts are equal to that one private key. They're equal. You lose the private key, the account is gone. You have the private key copied by someone else, the account is compromised. And this is something that smart accounts, which are programmable, can solve, because you can put stuff in code like, let's get this account be a multisig. Let's have a second factor authentication on this account through a mobile phone. Let's have a time lock if you want to spend over this amount of money. And all of this allows you to remove the seed phrase, because you no longer need to care about one single private key. You can have multiple private keys. You can use your phone to store the second private key. You can have a setup where you have the account recovered by email, which also can get secure, can get really secure. I can get into that later. So yeah, This is the first problem that we're solving, the first big one. So regarding the email, we have something called email authentication, where you can create an account with email, and it's a lot of technical explanation to explain how this works. But basically, it's a multi-sig under the hood. From a certain point, it will also use DKIM, which is a protocol that every email provider supports, where each email is cryptographically signed. So you can leverage this cryptography that you already have in the real world. You can leverage it to secure your account and to enable account recovery. Then the second problem that we solve is the onboarding problem of not having Ether for gas, or even having to pay the gas before the transaction. Because imagine you create a new wallet and you only use this wallet in some sort of off-chain way, right? You sign messages, and then you receive an airdrop, or even you want to claim a Tornado Cash ticket. That's also a great example. And if you don't have any funds on this account, there's no way to do it. So the way we solve this is, first of all, by allowing you to pay the fee in different currencies, in stable coins. And then second of all, and this is really hard for people to wrap their heads around, but it makes a lot of sense when you get used to it, is that the fee gets deducted at the end of the transaction. It's still an atomic process. It's still either the entire transaction fails or the entire transaction succeeds with the fee payment, but you pay the fee after code execution, which means that you can claim a Tornado Cash ticket without having any funds in the account before that. So this is mind blowing, because on Ethereum, even if you're claiming Ether, you cannot pay this transaction fee in Ether because you need to have the Ether beforehand, and this opens a huge privacy vulnerability because you need to fund the wallet with Ether from somewhere, which already doxes you. And this is a huge advantage of our way of doing things, that you can pay the fee from the money that you're gonna get in the transaction. Another example of this would be a Uniswap trade. The first thing that you do on an account is like someone sends you a shitcoin, and it's kind of liquid, but you cannot pay the fee with it because we don't accept it. But you can swap it to a stable coin, and by swapping it to a stable coin, you would be able to pay the fee. So that's another huge UX issue that we solve. Basically, the onboarding, and the fact that you need Ether, or the fact that you need the money beforehand. So that's something that we completely resolve. Again, to summarize, by taking stablecoins as well as Ether. And I talk about Ether, but we support multiple EVM networks. So this also applies to like Matic, Phantom, Avalanche, Optimism Ether, Arbitrum Ether. So yeah, and then allowing you to pay the fee post transaction. So yeah, that's the second big thing that we solve. And the third big thing, I will just touch upon this, is transaction batching. You can do multiple things in the same transaction. This is huge when interacting with DeFi, because DeFi dApps, they want you to do like a million things. And if we can simplify this and make it like one simple zap, one transaction, this simplifies a lot. And this is particularly noticeable with ERC20 approvals, because I've seen a lot of people who get onboarded onto crypto in the last bull market. They want to use Uniswap. They do use Uniswap, and then they sign the first transaction thinking that this is the swap. And then after this, they discover that they have to sign a second transaction, which is the actual swap. And the first one was actually an approval, which of course doesn't mean anything to them, right? It's like a completely foreign concept. It doesn't have any meaning without any context. So you paid like $5 for gas, and you think that this is gonna do your swap. But then you discover that your swap costs $40, and that's a huge issue, and it churns out many people, and many people think basically Ethereum is a scam, because I got asked for $5 to do my swap, and then after 30 seconds I got asked for another 40. Like, what is this? It's literally like, to someone who doesn't know the context, it's literally a scam. So the way we solve this is we batch those two things together so that you don't even notice the approval. You don't even know it's there. And many people have been criticizing the ERC20 standard, but from a technical perspective, it's really solid. It just requires this batching to be implemented in wallets for it to work well. Otherwise, you have to do a separate transaction and wait for it to get mined, and etc. And then the final thing that isn't related to account abstraction, that I would say is really big and really significant, is parsing the transaction and visualizing the transaction in a human-friendly way. We've seen so many people burned because they don't know what the transaction means. They do not understand hex. They do not read hex, right? So you see a bunch of code when you're signing the transaction and you don't know what it means. So we solve this just by displaying the transaction in a human-friendly way. And account abstraction does help here a little bit because it allows us to also simulate the transaction and tell you, hey, your balances are gonna change by this much, and like you're gonna have one ether taken away from your account, and then 1,800 USDT go into your account. So then you can figure out, oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm swapping tokens, so this makes sense. But if something is wrong, you would see interacting with unknown contract. You would see that the ether gets deducted, but you don't get any stable coins. So you would figure out that it's probably not a real swap, but it's a scam. So yeah, I would say that those are all of the pain points and all of the ways that we are addressing them.
Awesome. I love how you've taken this very kind of holistic approach to the onboarding process is complicated. The fact that you have to pay
Yeah,
for gas in the native network token is complicated. Recovering your account is complicated.
yeah,
Having to sign multiple transactions is complicated. And being able to build this like really robust, holistic product around that, I think is super
yep,
important. Whereas a lot of folks I've seen like focus on like
yeah,
just one of those
yeah,
many aspects, right? Being able to really like take a very holistic approach and say we want to address all of these collectively is a huge
absolutely.
undertaking. So on
Yeah.
that point, yeah, like I'd love to hear about how's it been going at Ambire. Like, where have you seen? You're obviously like a very product driven founder, so I'd love to learn more about like, what as you keep navigating and as you keep shipping and building, like, what does adoption look like? How have you managed to navigate kind of user requests and needs and all the innovation that you're bringing to the wallet ecosystem?
So that's a great question. Currently, we've surpassed 100 and something thousand users, which we're semi happy with. And that's a really good point about the holistic approach. I think that a wallet cannot make it without, like specifically, if you're catering to an audience of crypto natives like we are, you cannot afford to lack features compared to MetaMask. So you have to kind of do it all. Because MetaMask does seem like a simple product, but at this point it's like pretty advanced and it has a lot of things. A lot of wallets focus on only a subset of features, and that has its positives, right? Because it's much easier to build a product and it's much easier to get people hyped around this. Like for example, Avocado Wallet has a small subset of what we have as features, but the cross-network functionality, which again is something that we have, managed to like attract a lot of people because like it's a meme, and when you associate your product with like one particular feature, that's great for marketing because people can associate your wallet with like one thing that someone else doesn't have that you have. So building wallets based on just like one additional feature or a few has its advantages, but we think that unless you bring everything to the table, you cannot cater to the crypto native, because as much as we think of MetaMask as a simple product, it's actually not, and at this point it's pretty feature packed, even though that's not obvious. And unless someone matches that, it's really hard to compete with it. And when it comes to navigating user requests, overall, you said it yourself. We have a product-driven approach. We wait for something to become loud enough, like for a user request to become loud enough, and then we prioritize it and ship it. And we've shipped in the last year like tons of features. In hindsight, I would say that this wasn't the most brilliant move, and it turned out that this niche that we're going after of crypto natives, they would strongly prefer an extension over the web version that we're currently building. There's tons of reasons for that. One of them is psychological. It's purely psychological. It's the fact that people do not associate web wallets with wallets. Actually, they don't associate web apps with wallets. They associate them with like social networks, dApps. Not necessarily with something that's like a root product, not something that's attached to your computer at all times, and something that like not a phone but an application. So we kind of need to be the phone, right? We need to be the tool. We don't need to be the application. So From that perspective, it makes sense to build an extension. From another perspective, we need to, in order to manage private keys within the wallet, we need to go the extension route, because the web app is not a platform which is well suited enough for storing private keys, and this was fine in version 1 because version 1 doesn't rely on storing private keys that much, if at all. We use multi-sig schemes under the hood. We heavily rely also on people having hardware wallets as well. So the first version wasn't really something meant for being necessarily a software wallet. When it is a software wallet, it's used as a multi-sig, so it's secure. It's even more secure than traditional EOAs. But for the second version, for the extension, we actually want to allow importing legacy accounts. So we want to allow importing EOAs. And for this, there's no other way to do it securely other than an extension. Another reason is connection to dApps is really way easier in an extension. It's okay with the web application, you can do it with Wallet Connect, but you have to switch through tabs and it's kind of cumbersome. And also, Wallet Connect doesn't fully work perfectly all of the times. And most importantly of all, having an extension which is always pinned, always right there, is just the easier UX. It's just easier than having to copy the Wallet Connect link around. So there's many reasons that catering to this audience of crypto natives requires an extension, and is better suited for the extension form factor. And also, when you think about the market as a whole, every single wallet is going after some different audience. Every single wallet is going after the newbies, or going after like a specific network, or going after like specific DeFi actions like InstaDApp was in the past. And when you think about it, it's mind blowing that no one other than Rabi and maybe Frame is going after the Metamask audience, the core Metamask audience. No one is going after the crypto natives who are struggling with Metamask, because even though MetaMask has improved a lot in the last years, even crypto natives do not get it. Even crypto natives struggle with it a lot. And most product-driven founders, they don't think of it that way. They think of it, oh, that person is a crypto native. He's a degen. He can figure everything out. He already knows this product. He doesn't have an issue with MetaMask. But the reality is not so. The reality is that everyone is struggling with pretty much every single wallet. So even when you look at the audience of MetaMask itself, no one is targeting it, and no one is specifically thinking of how to make life easy for this core community of power users.
If you haven't yet explored the benefits of smart wallets and account abstraction, you should definitely check out Ambire Wallet. It is the wallet you wish you had when you started your crypto journey. Ambire works with all EVM chains out there, the layer 2s like Arbitrum, Optimism, Polygon, but also non-Ethereum ecosystems like Avalanche and Phantom. You'll never have to spend your valuable ETH again, because Ambire Wallet lets you pay for gas in stablecoins, one of the many perks of smart accounts. The web application of Ambire Wallet offers a number of fiat on-ramps for seamless conversion of fiat currency into crypto. And if you prefer self-custody with a safety net, you can recover a lost Ambire Wallet using an email, address, and password, without giving the Ambire team any control over your funds. Ambire Wallet is available on both mobile and web platforms, providing a range of features including a gas-saving mechanism, effortless integration with multiple dApps, transaction batching, and more cool functionalities to enhance your digital asset management experience. Stay tuned, as an extension of Ambire Wallet is coming soon, TM, to expand its accessibility even further. Want to get your hands on the Ambire Wallet? Check it out at ambire.com. And now, let's get back to the show. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, right? Like, I think even this notion of a like super technically savvy crypto native is somewhat of a misconceived notion. Like, I think you have your developer oriented crypto natives that are able to navigate all the technical issues that arise with using different wallets. And then there's like the folks who are, yeah, can sort of navigate it, right? Or can like kind of piece things together. And then you have your crypto natives that like maybe came in over the course of the last bull run that like love buying and selling NFTs. Like, those guys are crypto natives to some extent as well, right? And so, but there are so many different audiences even within the crypto native space that I think that one being able to build this, like, okay, we want to build a feature kind of wallet that can do everything for you and makes it like much easier. It seems like definitely the right choice
Yeah,
to go.
yeah.
um yeah.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, I know people from 2017 who are still struggling, who've used MetaMask like on average like 2 or 3 times a week. And to this day, they don't really understand what's going on. And great anecdote. A few people who I know who are long time users, really like from 17, 18, they didn't know that when you import a private key into MetaMask, this private key doesn't get associated to your seed. So like when you re-import MetaMask on a different machine, you import the seed and you don't have all your accounts. So great anecdote. Still, no one still knows what the heck is going on.
Exactly. And as you said, it's like oftentimes people have this association of like, oh, if I lose the key, I'll be able to recover it. Same way, I think the mental models that we use with wallets are somewhat misplaced. And as a consequence, I think like onboarding
Yeah.
mass users is going to always be a challenge. So with that in mind, like I'd love to get your thoughts
Yep.
on what are the other challenges that you're seeing in the space. And like you're clearly like, you've shown that you've navigated this idea maze, but like what are the other challenges and ideas that you think are really, you mentioned the extension as well. Like what's on the horizon for Ambire that you're wanting to put more focus towards?
So we want to put more focus into brand awareness and trustability, because the biggest challenge of getting a wallet adopted is getting people to trust you, and there are good reasons for this, because most people do not realize on a conscious level, but maybe they feel like this is true, that wallets can rogue you in multiple ways. Unfortunately, even open source wallets, if you're not like reading the source code yourself, there's like a lot of room. Even if everything on chain is correct, even if and everything with the private key generation is all right, you always have this vulnerability of having to trust the wallet provider to some extent. I wish this wasn't true, and we're doing our best to mitigate it. Like for example, we're fully open source. You can always run Ambire from source. We do independent security audits. Unfortunately, though, the reality is that adopting a wallet requires a great bit of trust, regardless of whether you do understand why or you don't understand why. Like everyone is very cautious with their money. And this is also part of the reason that we're going after power users and crypto natives and not going after new people. It may sound counterintuitive at first, but when you think about it, when you analyze the market, when you like listen around and try to like be in tune with your surroundings, you will notice that everyone who is kind of new and crypto curious relies on recommendations from their friends. You ask someone like, "What do you use?" and the someone who you know who has been in crypto for longer than you says MetaMask. And so you need to change the opinion of the people who are actually the opinion leaders. You need to change the opinion of the people who are the hardcore users of MetaMask, and you need to convert even like 1 or 2% of them would be sufficient to get the ball rolling. But you need to convert some of them in order to start mass adoption. I'm pretty certain about this. It's a really hot take, but I haven't seen anyone put their life savings into a wallet that isn't recommended by a friend.
Mm.
So going from that logic, I would say that's the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is earning the trust of people, and I think the only way to do it is through early adopters.
Totally. Yeah, I love this idea, right? It's like memes are crucial. And so even
Yeah,
with the recent like Ledger debacle was like the meme was that the
yeah,
secure enclave was totally air gapped. And that wasn't just a meme that was like a rumor. That was a meme that had been confirmed supposedly by the Ledger team repeatedly on social media, on a lot of their help channels. And it was like, we never have access to it. And then all of a sudden we find out that, well, actually, all it takes, we're just one firmware update away from that not being the case.
yeah. Unfortunately, I would say that this is a case of marketing debt. I'm not sure if that's a term, but it's like technical debt, but it's marketing debt, right? So like you're marketing a concept for a long time, and then it turns out that this concept isn't exactly like that. So now you're suffering, and unfortunately, the reality is, as a technical person, I can say that um, the issue is rooted in physics really, because like every hardware device which contains a key also has the potential of this key to be extracted. No matter how much engineering you do and how many secure enclaves and self-destruction methods and etc., if it's a physical device, if it contains a piece of data, the piece of data can be taken out. Whether this is through software or through hardware, it can be taken out. So the fact that Trezor is now under fire also for having this vulnerability is sad, because Ledger is kind of like there's no way for them to not have this ability to take the private key out, but because of marketing and because it's like kind of not open source and the secure enclave is proprietary, so it's really not as easy to demonstrate. But what I'm saying is that every hardware wallet by definition contains a secret that can be extracted, and if you're encrypting that secret or using extra entropy for that secret, then this is your solution. And you can do this with hardware wallets by adding a passphrase, but you need to keep in mind, first of all, the passphrase is not the pin. It's a secondary thing that adds extra entropy. And second of all, if you lose it, that's it. So you really need to be careful with it, and it's better to use a simple one rather than a complicated one, because if someone gets a hold of your Trezor, it will still give you way more than enough time to move to a different device by recovering with the seed phrase and the passphrase that you have in your head. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, I think, and you mentioned this, right, is like balancing self-sovereignty and user experience is something that we're still
Yeah,
learning. And I think the one thing that we do really want to focus on is the extent to which we are vulnerable to, say, subpoenas from nation states, which we know
yeah,
are from a certain hardware wallet perspective, which again, a lot of folks were under the false pretense that you were totally safe from that type of attack, right? Is like, how can we build systems that, okay, not every, there is no perfect solution. There's, or the silver
yeah,
bullet solution is like far too technical and way too complicated, right? It would require like setting everything up like offline on
yeah,
your own hardware device, and it's just not how we get mass adoption. And so the balance between like
yeah,
making it super seamless and easy and also allowing folks like that self-sovereignty, I think is crucial. And I love that that's, you know, the idea space that you guys are situating yourself in is like, let's make this onboarding process for crypto natives like seamless and a great, you know, enjoyable experience at the end of the day. So I'd love to like talk about, we started already exploring this, but like let's explore the wallet wars, right? Like from a product standpoint, like how do you navigate the various wallets that are in the ecosystem? And you know, how are you looking to position yourself? You said like brand awareness and functionally like the Lindy effect, right? Is like, so long as a certain
yeah,
product has been around for long enough and enough people use it and it's recommended by friends, like that's crucial. And I can, and another anecdote,
yeah,
right, is like I onboarded my cousin to a wallet, and he onboarded his two siblings to the wallet, and then they all lost their like private keys. And then they were like, hey, like,
yeah,
thanks so much. Like, thanks for getting us in this crypto thing. Like, we lost, you know, a bit of money. And so they've now been like a little bit burnt. And so, you know, I think there is
yeah,
a huge need for better wallets. A lot of, you know, folks are
yep,
trying to innovate on this front, but how are you navigating the wallet wars? Where do you like to position yourself? And you know, where are
yeah.
you going to keep growing and pushing that envelope?
So we already touched on this, and what I would say is that we wanna we the way we see things is we need to start with early adopters. We need to start with power users because they're also struggling, and then as they start appreciating our product, then adoption the adoption circle will grow organically. And some of the new people will start using this wallet as well, and then we can figure out how to optimize for them and whether it's worth it to optimize for them. But my whole point here is that wallets are critical exactly in preventing what you're saying, exactly preventing the negative growth of cryptos, if I may say so. Like every product or every industry will grow exponentially if there is word of mouth and if it's usable and if it's valuable. And our industry is definitely valuable, but it's not usable. So like what you end up getting is a lot of people getting churned out and a lot of people getting burned. And now at this point, we've kind of sort of tainted ourselves by creating this impression in most people that crypto is either a scam or next to unusable. So that's what we're working against, and that's also one reason why we're focusing on early adopters and on believers first, because we believe that the average Joe is way too like skeptical at the moment to enter the space. Obviously, greed will do a lot to rotate that, to shift that, because when you have periods of like strong markets, bull markets, people forget about their like negative thesis, right? So especially if it goes for long enough, at one point there will be like, no, 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 that's a scam, no, that's a scam, and then at one point they will all FOMO in. So that's why I think it's really important to stay within our community at the moment and optimize and make the perfect product for humans, but ship it to our community. So like perfect product that is easy to use, because as I said, power users also deserve ease of use, and like figure out all these concepts, because not even we are aware of like all the terminology and all the concepts and all the mental models that go behind wallets. So let's start by making it clear to ourselves, and then growing it out, and then using good opportunities for this to grow when people are more inclined to like leave their skepticism aside, because definitely there's a lot of skepticism in the like normal world on crypto. And another part of this question, the other part of the answer would be that once again, I believe that we're very uniquely positioned as one of the very few wallets that want to do both power users and ease of use, and want to do like a feature-rich product, which is also easy to use. Everyone goes in either one or the other direction, and normally like every book would tell you that you need to be sharp, you need to focus, but at the same time we believe that here focusing means delivering on both, because if you deliver only one of those sides, you're delivering a broken product, you're delivering something that no one will use. And there's a reason why MetaMask kept its dominance. There's a reason why MetaMask is not slowing down. And this reason is that it's reliable more than we'd like to think, even though it fails a lot. It's actually one of the most reliable things in crypto. And it is sufficiently easy to use for crypto natives. Not exactly, this is very debatable. It's sufficiently easy to start using, but then it's also really easy to get burned. So that's something that we need to address to make like the 10x better product. And it's also really like trustable in a way. It's really established. It's been around for a long time. So yeah, that's the summary.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely this trajectory that a lot of folks go through as they navigate the different wallets they use. Maybe they start with MetaMask and then they use something else, and then they go to something else. And I think like being able to land at a wallet that will give you everything you need, I think is the ideal journey for us, right? And so I'm excited to see that
Yep.
happen, and excited to see that movement sort of continue to flourish and grow, and see wallets really take the center stage of mass adoption, particularly with what you said with regards to the average Joe, right? Like I surround myself, like 90% of my friends are crypto natives who, really believe and see the power in the technology of blockchain, and at really like base principles level. But I think it's always surprising to me, especially like now, sort of in the depths of the bear market, of the degree of skepticism. It's like, no, that stuff's just for like the folks that got in early and da da da. So, you know,
Yeah.
I, I think that shift in paradigm over 1 to 2 years will be crucial to have the infrastructure ready there. So on that point, like,
Yeah.
what do you see? What are you excited for? Like over the course of the next couple of years, like emerging from the crypto ecosystem, when we think about mass adoption, when we think about utility, like what's on the horizon? Outside of the wallet space, but just more broadly speaking, like what gets you excited about the future of crypto? Safe, previously known as Safe, is a decentralized custody protocol securing $60 billion in assets today. It is establishing a universal standard for secure custody of digital assets, data, and identity. Safe is on a mission to unlock digital ownership for everyone in Web3, including DAOs, enterprise, retail, and institutional users, both through their Safe core account abstraction infrastructure, and of course, its flagship product, the Safe Wallet, the wallet we all know and love. Start using Safe or building on top of the Safe core account abstraction stack by visiting safe.global. And now, let's get back to the show.
So honestly, I've been so much into wallets that I haven't thought about anything else. But really important thing to say here is that after all, we need to be thinking of the use case, right? The wallet is just a tool for the use case. And the thing is, my thesis is that there will be use cases, and I'll get into what use cases. But the wallet is gonna whoever wins the wallet stuff is generally gonna benefit from those use cases. And I don't think that the wallet has to be necessarily tailored for that use case, at least not from the beginning. As the use case is emerging, obviously all of the wallets would get sharpened into this use case. But I don't think that the right approach is like, let's build a wallet for NFTs or let's build a wallet for DeFi. The wallet has to be general purpose because people already have crypto. They already have like investments and they need to hold them somewhere. That's already a use case. We're setting this aside, and then it also needs to be able to connect to dApps so that it can universally do anything. And then as one winner use case emerges, then the wallet needs to be sharpened up. But personally, um, I would say that DeFi is always going to be really close to my heart. And the reason for this is that I'm a big user of Aave, and I love this concept of lending. I think that it's underestimated. You can like finance your purchases, finance your life without having to sell your crypto, which is really powerful, both from a tax perspective and from like wealth optimization perspective. Then you can use it to like do mild leverage over your portfolio, which is always better than extreme leverage, right? I would never recommend to someone do 2x or 3x on Binance and ape away their net worth. But like doing 10% leverage is fine, in my opinion. So yeah, I would say that DeFi is the thing that I'm most excited about, and generally like moving the entire financial system to crypto is something I'm really excited about. Now I do understand that this is extremely niche because it's 2023 and most people have no concept of the financial system, like not even professionals. I mean professionals in like different fields than finance, because I think everyone should understand finance and the financial system to some extent, but that's not the reality. So maybe DeFi will always be niche. It's something that I'm excited about, but maybe it will stay niche. Then NFTs are fantastic because you can use them for so many things, right? You can use them for like pure collectibles. You can use them for like access lists. So, like for example, if I'm part of a club, I would need an NFT, and in many ways they can replace legal contracts. Also, you can like use them as deeds, as registration certificates, as titles, and that's fantastic because then you can plug it into DeFi, and then you can make DeFi like you can make it consumer friendly. Like imagine the following use case: like your car is actually the registration certificate is an NFT. So then you put this NFT into Aave, and you get a credit line. So let's say you need 10,000 in cash, your car is worth 20,000, and you could finance that in like 5 minutes. You don't need to go to the bank, you don't need to get your background checked, you don't need to basically go through this all of these degrading degrading experiences of like the bank having to check you out and having to decide something that's very clear. If you do have an asset that's worth X amount of money and stable and secured, you should be able to get a credit line of that asset. And this really excites me. Like you will be able to do this in like minutes, or even like mint a virtual credit card or whatever and put it in Apple Pay and like be able to spend money, which is like collateralized by your real world assets. So that's just one thing, but it all falls within within those two things, NFTs and DeFi. Games are also really excited because games have always been like really close to this. Games have always had some form of tokenization, so I'm curious to see if this will kind of like merge into Web3. Again, there's a lot of skepticism within gamers, so I'm just watching the space.
Yeah, DeFi real world utility is like something I'm deeply passionate about, right? And
Yeah,
I think it's where we have
yeah,
the way I see it is like let's find where there are inefficiencies in the market, let's tap into
yeah,
those and let's remove those. And banking systems are pretty inefficient markets, right? In the sense
yeah,
that there's a lot of rent-seeking behavior and economic extraction that happens there with, at this point, minimal value. Sure, 200 years ago, it made sense to have sort of central entities that served as kind of the borrowing and lending facilities. But in today's day and age, with smart contracts, with the capacity to collateralize yourself against your digital assets, which at some point will become real world assets as well. I actually did a whole video on how I bought a car with DeFi and walk folks through that using Liquidity, where I use Ether to take out a loan for LUSD and went through that entire process and showed folks like, hey, and the interest rate was like unbeatable, right? So Liquidity's
yeah,
interest rate is like 0%, and the bank was offering me 20% around that, right? And so
yeah.
just like from even purely from a financial perspective, it just makes so much more sense to use peer-to-peer networks
Yep.
versus these like unnecessarily like clogged and intermediated financial systems that we have today.
Yeah, I actually also bought a car, but I financed it through Aave, and I couldn't buy this car in any other way because I didn't have the cash in the bank, and I'm really lucky that the seller agreed to like USDT. I convinced him. I helped him set up a Coinbase account. So yeah, I would say that it's fantastic and you can use it right now and it's much better than the banking system. But another point to make here is that you guys, I would say you guys in the US have it easy, and if you hate your banks, then I don't know what we can say about our banks in Europe. Basically, you want to spend any amount of funds that isn't trivial, and you get an email saying your transfer has been blocked because you need to provide like 5 documents which you sent them like last month already. It's
Mm-hmm.
extremely inefficient and extremely painful, and it's kind of a culture shock because every time I interact with people from the US, every time they assume that a wire transfer is something easy and relatively painless. And in Europe, and I'm not talking about Eastern Europe specifically, but I'm talking in like the general Europe in general. Generally, SIPA works amazingly, but when it comes to like with Revolut or with TransferWise, now Wise, you can do a SEPA transfer for like 1 minute or 30 seconds. But when things go wrong, like when the bank like looks at the transaction and says, "Wait, this might be fraudulent," then you lose like 2 days. And it's also the same like with credit cards and with debit cards. Like everything works flawlessly, but then you pay something in the US, and then they block your card and they call you on the phone, which is like it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like, I mean, living in Guatemala, obviously, like I get to see firsthand a lot of the issues right now. Being in the U.S., I just like, well, like, I mean, the financial system does work fairly well here, right?
Yeah,
And I think that's what I always say is like crypto has the strongest product market fit where we have inefficient,
yeah,
outdated financial systems, and particularly from a DeFi standpoint, right? So,
yep.
I'm excited for and like love sort of kind of spreading the adoption and awareness use case for crypto in regions that most need it. So,
Yeah.
well, awesome, Ivo. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you think you'd like to bring up, or anything else you'd like to address?
Well, yeah, maybe we can talk about the rise of account obstruction because what I would like to say is that we've been working on this for a huge while, and we're hugely excited about ERC 4337. And the reason for that is not only because it's a big technical improvement to the space, but also because it serves kind of like a shelling point, gets everyone together and gets everyone excited about the idea. Back in 2021, when we raised our seed round, no one cared about this. No one realized its potential, even though we've already have been working on this for a while, and obviously the Safe guys and the Argent guys, a few other wallets as well. but no one like from the VCs had heard about this. So we owe it to the 4337 team that account obstruction is so exciting right now, and everyone cares about it, and dApps are starting to like fix bugs that they had related to smart contract wallets. So that's fantastic. But the technology itself, it has had a lot of misconceptions about it. Like one of the misconceptions is like when 4337 becomes live, we're going to get all of these features. So that's not true, because first of all, you need a different wallet vendor. You need your wallet vendor to be actually an account obstruction wallet for you to get this feature. Like we won't get this feature for the majority of wallets. We won't get this magically for EOAs. Another misconception has been that those features didn't exist before. They've always existed. 4337 really fixes a point of risk and a point of centralization in smart contract wallets. It doesn't like make smart contract wallets possible. They were always possible. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about this, but I think I touched on the most important points. And the most important message would be to try out Ambire and to tell us what you think. We love product feedback. We thrive on it. We think that is the most important thing right now for us. So I encourage everyone to go to ambire.com, test out the product, and tell us what they think. It's currently a web application, but you can also sign up for the mobile beta, which is going to be out very soon. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Great, Ivo. Absolutely. I'll just on the account abstraction point, I think you guys have really been pioneering the space alongside, as you said, Safe and Argent and a few other folks in the ecosystem, and have been like from a number of years back now really kind of saying, hey, this is going to be a breakthrough kind of technological innovation that we really need to start thinking about. So, great to have you on the podcast. Definitely, we'll get folks to go to Ambire, check out the work you're doing as well. So on that point, where can people find you, the work you're up to, as well as Ambire?
So ambire.com is a nice place to start, the website, and then it has links to Twitter, where we have most of our updates. We also have a newsletter. You can sign up for that again on the website. So basically, the website is the greatest starting point, and also you can join the Discord. The Discord is a quite nice place to be, and a nice place for product feedback.
Awesome, cool, great, Ivo. Well, great having you on the podcast, and we'll see you around the metaverse.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Odyssey. And thank you for joining us on our collective journey as we look to explore where crypto has the opportunity to drive real-world impact in the societies of tomorrow. If you haven't yet already, make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts, and also that you've joined our Telegram community, which you'll find below. I'll see you on the next one.